feel for this league? How much better feel do you have now?
It's definitely more familiarity, more than anything. Just to know that you know the personnel each team has, you know the way they like to play, the more physical team they pass team. There's no more like second guessing like last year. Like we did take a couple series to figure out how this defense plays and all that types of things. So it's gonna be a little more like familiar, just to be able to go in there. No real surprises. We play the same division and more crossover game. That'll be a little bit different, but maybe have Pitt again as we will every year. So it's just nice to see these same teams. It'll be a little more, I think, a little more easier this year in terms of just understanding who we're playing instead of just kind of going the game a little unsure.
Sean, go ahead.
Sean, Dan Tortora, Broadcast Media. The offensive line for Syracuse changed a little bit from last season to this season. You've been on the left side, you've been on the right side. What can you say about how things are kind of shaking out and how you see this offensive line after the spring?
Well, the first thing I can say is after this season, I was really impressed with how large currently our center, John Miller. He lost a lot of weight. He got stronger and faster, and that really translated onto the field. So he kind of brought an aspect to this offensive line I didn't really foresee coming into this. After last season, coming into like who would this offensive line be, using Mackey, and he really did a great job, and he kind of threw a wild card in that I didn't really see coming. So with him doing that good and having 4 other guys back, and also have Morgan Palmer who can play basically anywhere. He's a very good ball player, as well as Michael Laster, who's being with Ivan Ford in the right tackle position. We have a great depth that we didn't necessarily have last year, but people will be able to ready to play, and it's exciting.
Bob Holly from Raleigh, Sean. Terrell Hunt took custody of the quarterback position about mid-year. You guys began to get better week after week after that. Given the fact that most ACC teams are looking at new quarterbacks, what kind of comfort level do you have from knowing that you've identified your guy?
Well, it's huge because of having around an asset for so long and how great of a quarterback he was. He did a lot of things that like, a bunch of other quarterbacks don't do, and then to go from him to a new quarterback last year, it was a little bit of a learning curve, but Terrell did a great job of. He really, when he got in there, he demanded respect, and that was in spring ball of last year. And then Drew came in, and once Terrell got the shot at it again, he just demanded respect, but he never left. And we got used to him, but at the same time, we got used to him as the year went on, but he really did a great job. And to have him back and not have to go through that learning curve again it's a big advantage for us.
We're going to go to the back of the room first, Sean, then we'll come back down here.
Hey, Sean, Stephen Fonte, ABC in Syracuse. You guys are the ultimate measuring stick in the division, defending national champs, Florida State. You saw them last year. Could you talk a little bit about the gap between Florida State and Syracuse? How wide is that gap, and how long do you think it'll take to kind of close that gap?
Well, to be kind of blunt and obvious, they're the national champs for a reason. Like, there's not one team that was better than them last year. So the gap is significant. They are basically NFL players across the board at every position. So yeah, they're ahead, and I think Syracuse has to overcome, and I've said this multiple times today, is that there's this persona or this image from the mid-2000s that's still kind of hanging around when we were like a 1-11 team or like won 3 games, 4 games, and that kind of, I think it's still, that view is still hanging around even though we won 3 bowl games in the last 4 years. It's still, people sometimes hear when they hear Syracuse, they think of that, and I think recruits think of that too, because they were growing up at that age, that time when Syracuse was when they were starting to introduce the football. Syracuse was a 2-12, 2-10 team. So it's about us to keep putting seasons back to back of winning bowl games, of having winning records, of improving and getting better. That's going to eventually bring more guys and keep working hard like we always have. Bring more guys and eventually try to slowly close that gap. And I think that's the biggest issue Syracuse really does fix, is that kind of image from the rest of the nation that just kind of like everybody keeps taking back to those years. But it's been a while, but I understand why they think that way. But that's really what we have to keep winning, and hopefully in years to come, we'll get slowly closes.
Two more questions, one left, one right. We'll start to the left.
Sean Don Munson from Clemson. This is a league that's very deep in defensive end. At Clemson, though, they've got a first-team All-American returner, which is an unusual thing in today's game. Can you comment just a little bit on the game with Vic Beasley and what you see, him on the field, and also when you're looking at him on the field?
Sure. The first thing I noticed when I watched film on him was he's on his third or fourth step, and everybody else is on the first. Like the way his I noticed the way his legs move is with such speed, but also with such velocity. That's true. The first thing I noticed on film, he's on his third step is when everybody else is on the first. So that brings, and like that game, I was getting more of my get off was faster than it was all season because it had to be. Because an offensive line really is, our sets really dictated on who we're playing. So if someone's a little slower, I'm not going to go set real fast because that means I'll pass them up. And when someone's going extremely fast, I got to get out really fast. And he brings also a rush that's not just purely speed, or not just purely power. It's truly a multiple dimension rush. He can speed rush you, or he can bull rush you. For him being 240 pounds, he's probably the strongest 240-pound person I've ever had block. So I think he's a genetic gift, and he's a very good athlete. He's one of the, I'd say he's the best defensive end, pass rusher defensive end, or run blocking for that matter, run stopping. I think he's one of the best defensive end in college football.
You may have one of the best quotes of the day, by the way. Genetic gift. Last question right here.
Sean, it's a two-parter. First, going back to changing the climate, what has Scott Shafer done to change the climate for even in the locker room with you guys? And secondly, going through your first spring with offensive line coach Joe Adam. So first with Shafer and then with Joe Adam.
I feel Coach Shafer really wants us to take control of our own team rather than in the past where everybody knew if this was Coach Marone's team, he runs the ship every way, shape, or form of his team. Coach Shafer's taking a little different approach. He wants us to take a little bit more ownership in what happens and us police our own. So whether it comes to people missing class or whatever, us to police it, and us to hold our players accountable rather than the coaches, just the coaches holding us accountable. And so I would feel that's the one thing Coach Shafer's trying to bring to the table more. And Coach Adam, he's done a great job for making the transition between his last job and this one. He's done. He's also, like I said about Tortora, demanding respect. Coach Adams demanding respect since he's gotten here, and he's done. And listening to him talk about football, then you start to respect him because you understand he knows what he's saying, even though he's been a defensive coach for a while. So he does bring an aspect to the game that you want to learn from. And the thing I got to see 3 different line coaches in 3 seasons. I had Greg Atkins, 2 for my first 3 years here, and last year at Pat Carlson, this year after Joe Adam. So you get to see all different types of coaching philosophies and how they view certain technique things. So I can kind of pick and choose from each one, whichever one's helped my game the best. And then I can apply, say, I like something for Coach Atkins, I like something for Coach Carlson, I like something for Coach Adam, and I can morph it and it's just keep getting exposed to things like that, and his type of coach really just helps you become an overall better player.
Sean, thank you. Cameron?